Let's pivot to UF versus USF. I think this game is incredibly intriguing. Had you asked me a week ago what percentage Florida had of winning it, I probably would have told you 95% because nothing in college football is ever a guarantee. I think I would dial that back a little bit now. I don't expect that Florida will lose this ball game, but USF's domination of Boise State, who was a playoff team last year, and I mean, we can argue whether or not they really belonged in the playoffs all we want, but they were a playoff team last year. I did not expect this Alex Golish led team to really just dominate from start to finish. So it makes me wary might be a strong word, but I think the Gators better not look ahead. You have LSU the week after that. That is not the time to look ahead. USF is going to come to Gainesville ready to play. Will, has your view on this game changed at all after we watched last week?
It has, but I'm looking at this almost in the reverse way. USF looking as good as they did in week 1 is absolutely a good thing for Florida because of what you mentioned. Now they're not going to the threat of a look ahead spot where they falter is way lower. Right? Because let's say USF just wins that game by a field goal. Florida's main focus is they won't say it's true, but like we got LSU next week. Then Byron Brown walks into the swamp and they're not ready for it, and all of a sudden you're down 10-0. So I think USF playing that good, potentially up to where they'll be ranked, is a good thing for Florida because now they know that they've got to show up and play. So there wasn't a whole lot of run game for USF against Boise, and we saw Boise really struggle to tackle in general. So that makes me feel confident about Florida being able to stop the running game, at least outside of Byron Brown. There were explosive pass plays like guys that Chase Nimrod in the offense, and then obviously that fake punt to Keshawn Singleton. So I feel pretty confident about Florida. I mean, that line's just about 3 scores. And like I said, I really do think South Florida looking as good as they did is a benefit to Florida because now there's no chance that they're going to sleepwalk into this and just get ready to go on the plane to Baton Rouge. They'll be ready to actually beat up on USF at home and get ready for SEC play.
I sat in the stands on Saturday and watched Florida dismantle LIU. There's absolutely nothing really that can be gleaned from a game when you play an opponent that's one step above a high school team. But Florida played disciplined football, which is not the kind of football I would maybe label the Napier era as prior to this. They had no penalties, which has not happened in a very long time in Gainesville. And the defense looked sweltering. Now, again, you're playing a team that's one step above a high school team, but I did think the defense maybe looked a tick better than I was expecting. The offense, specifically the offensive line, looked a tick worse than I was expecting from Florida. But also was a little concerned that they missed 3 field goals. Trace Mack missed 3 field goals total last season, missed 3 on Saturday, including a 39 and a 40-yarder, which the third one was incredibly long. And so that was just, get your practice kicks in. I don't hold that against him, but you should be good from 39 and 40 yards every single time. And Florida wasn't. So things to work on. But overall, I feel like they looked on track. They looked about how I expected them to look. TJ, I don't know if you got to see any of the game. You were in Tallahassee celebrating your victory, but have you watched anything from that Florida game and did anything stand out to you?
Yeah, I wonder. I did watch the on YouTube they throw like the 15-minute condensed game on after, so it's a great way to catch up on all these games. But yeah, I wonder about like interest level, like in games like this, like how much. In the LIU game, right? Like you're pumped up because of the swamp and it's game 1 and all these things, but like you still know that what's the what Buckholz could probably run out there and beat LIU, right? So I think that is something that I wonder is how you think about the offensive line or just whatever. Now I do think Smack's an issue, and I think he'll pull it together, but that is a problem. But I think they'll be kind of like what Will said. USF, I mean, maybe being ranked. We'll find out tomorrow morning. Again, we're doing this on Monday if you watch it later in the week. So we'll find out if, is USF ranked? Is FSU ranked? These different teams that had big wins. USF might be ranked. And it's still USF. Like, it's still little brother. But I do think it gets Florida's attention a little bit more. And you believe, like, everybody can say what they want about Napier, this, that, and the other. Like, they will correct the things that were messed up. Now, I mean, it's hard to correct, like, a kicker yeah, that's just all mental, right? And Allie knows that maybe better than anybody. But I do think that like the things that Florida fans looked at and said like, it wasn't super impressed with this, or I've got concerns here. Like that'll all get corrected this week. And I'm with Will. I think, yeah, could USF pull off this upset? I mean, I guess, but to me, like trench play will really matter. They've got similar trenches to Boise, and that's why they were able to push them a little bit. I think the mismatch in the trenches is bigger than what I thought the mismatch in the trenches was with Alabama, Florida State. Like Florida's trenches are really good, and I don't think USF can really compare there. Brown would have to absolutely go off, and Golish and those guys would have to call a game like Miles. Like it would have to be almost a Florida State Bama repeat, which I guess college football has told us that can happen. But I do think that that's a big deal in this matchup, and I mean, I'd like to see USF be competitive because I like seeing good games, but man, I don't know. I think Florida rolls here.
Yeah, I mean, I think to say concerns is such a strong word. I don't have concerns about Florida's line. I just maybe expected a little bit more out the gate because this is a line that's supposed to be a top 5 offensive line. But I did think it was encouraging to see you watch the growth of DJ Lagway in real time during the first half, which I thought was cool to see. He's missed a lot of reps with this wide receiver core. Timing is not something that you can replicate. You have to literally get out there and do it. And he has missed a lot of time. And I think a lot of the time he missed was Florida being incredibly conservative to preserve him for this season. And watching the improvement over the course of the 2 quarters that he played made me think, one, this was a good decision because if it keeps him healthier, we watched how much he improved in a short amount of time. But 2, it made me grateful that Florida didn't open with a Utah or a Miami this season. And maybe that strategy for keeping him healthy would have changed had the opponent been different. I think they got the ability to bring him along more slowly because they had 2 warm-up games before getting into conference play. But he played a little bit longer than maybe I expected, but I think that's because it was a little rocky in the beginning and then you watched it continue to progress. I thought the interesting part of it is we have been talking this entire offseason about whether it's going to be Harrison Bailey or whether it's going to be Aiden Warner as the backup, and that wasn't the case at all. I was incredibly surprised. Was number 2 something that you were just completely caught off by as well? Well, sorry, I'm stumbling right there.
I wasn't super caught off guard. I mean, I knew that it was such a battle, but I mean, Tramel Jones had a lot of buzz coming in, and he was very impressive throughout camp. I'm not surprised that it wasn't Harrison Bailey, at least, because he definitely seems to be in there as a safety net. I'm the oldest guy here. Let me just kind of help you guys out.
Yeah,
I was surprised we didn't see Aiden Warner at all.
at all.
I was surprised by that because, I mean, Tramel looked really good, but, I mean, that game was a blowout. I was a little surprised that nobody else got in the mix, but I liked what I saw from Tramel Jones a lot. He looked really sharp, great throws. He looked quick on his feet. So he looks pretty legit.
Yeah, he did. He looked really well and really good. And I was kind of expecting maybe we would see all 3 guys, but if you've just squarely decided that Jones is your solid number 2, he is so young that I guess giving him the entire second half to get some experience makes sense. That was one of the more interesting storylines, I think, of the game for me. And then how about VB3 and that one-handed catch? His dad, Vernell, played with my husband, Eric. We know each other from college. His granddad played with my dad. And just such a cool moment. You knew the second it happened, it was going to be in the ESPN top 10 and ended up being number 1 in ESPN's top 10. There was a catch last night by Miami that was a very similar
Yeah.
catch.
Both of those were like, dude, what are we doing now? Like, I remember when Odell Beckham Jr. did that the first time, and it was just like, we've never seen it before. Now guys do that. Like Ricky Pearsall did that a few weeks ago. Keon Coleman did that a couple of years ago. Guys are just doing that now. And I'm just like, all of you are ridiculous. Like, this is stupid.
The funniest part of that Vernell catch is that he could have just kept running, caught it, and scored. I think he did that on purpose. I think he knew what he could do. I'm going to backpedal for 8 yards for fun and just
the touchdown. Yeah, if he would have just done that, it would not have made top 10. But he's this game's over. I'd like to make.
Why not? Yeah, watch this.
Most yards most yards by a freshman making his first start. I want to say since Percy did it. I don't know. There were some records broken by him, but I am excited to see what he can do against USF. Continues to do. Him starting game one was also something that was a little bit of a storyline. And we heard this whole summer about Dallas Wilson, and Wilson was out. He was in a boot on the sidelines, but BB, I mean, that's a storyline. I mean, he played incredible. He's so young, true freshman. I definitely don't want to anoint anybody the second coming of anybody else, but there was a lot of people commenting about somebody else that used to wear the number 8 jersey and some similarities that they saw. We won't speak it in here just yet, but okay, this USF Florida game. What are you predicting, TJ, is a reasonable score? I know you think Florida wins.
I think Florida, I looked it up just now. Florida's about a 10-point favorite. I think they cover that. I've seen, well, I guess I see like 11 and a half here on some places. So, yeah, I mean, I would think Florida wins by at least 2 touchdowns. I mean, we Allie and I both live in Tampa for anybody watching. So, like, I kind of have an affinity for USF and want them to do well. So I'd like to think they could keep this to 2 scores, but I mean, I could see this one getting out of hand. No offense to USF. I don't think they're good enough in the trenches. I don't think Brown's going to be able to run like he was against Boise, who just, was that more about USF or more about Boise? We'll find out on Saturday. But I don't know. Something like, I think Florida goes for 35 and, I'll give Smack a field goal, 38 to, I don't know, 17. I'll say that they keep it like not a laugher, but just not really in competition. 38-17 UF.
All right, Will, what do you think?
I had 38-20. That was pretty close. I mean, pretty much for the same reason that you had. I think that it'll be roughly competitive, but I think Florida just leans on them. I mean, Byron Brown is going to make some plays. That's just who he is. So yeah, I think USF can get the 20. But yeah, I think Florida's just a little too good in this game. I got them going for 38. So Florida will win this decently comfortably, but it won't be a laugher.
Okay, so I'm going 45-17. I honestly walked away from this game most excited about Florida's defense. And again, it was LIU. But I think 20 points might be an insult to this defense.
I know.
Say 45-17. What, TJ?
That's what I was thinking too. I was like, is 17 still too much for this defense?
It's more about the points given up than the points scored for me. I think I don't know. I'm not insulting that defense in that way, and 17 might be too much. We shall see.